Welcome. I'm Simon Calder, and for the first time in 20 months, I'm back in the MCN6 TV studio with my friend Austin Carlson, aka YYY, for an episode of Back to the City, Minneapolis Music Conversation. I'm really excited about the record Aqua Dungeon After Dark that YYY has just released.
Yes.
And we're going to be listening to that record and diving into many of the features of the songs over the course of this interview. Let's begin with the song Aqua Dungeon and the setting of the Aqua Dungeon. So the Aqua Dungeon is...
the Aqua Dungeon is... it's like my studio setting in which I created the record. So I used to in my living room I used to set up different light beams on the ground and have them bouncing off things from plants and walls and kind of create like a very vibe heavy setting. I would set those things up and then I would go and make music. So in a lot of ways it kind of dictated what the record sounded like, and I'm very big setting type of person, where when I have a different studio setup, I kind of need things to be in a certain way in order for me to feel creative or comfortable. And so that kind of just became the routine for a while. And in the video we shot for Keep Off the Lawn, that was a pretty accurate recreation of some of the scenes that I was creating at the time.
Playing Tony Hawk 2 on the tube in my bedroom. Blue sky shining right through. Movement is a villain, sun become the killer. Door turn piranha, hair like Nirvana.
Right near the beginning of the song Aqua Dungeon, there's a reference to triple the amount of light. On the album cover, presumably you're in the Aqua Dungeon.
Yes.
Yeah.
So for the album cover, that was shot by my friend Elena Stanton. We took all of the plants in my house and I moved my bed into the middle of the room, and we lined the entire back of it with plants, and then put the lights right under the plants shooting up, so it got a really dramatic effect, and that was very cool the way it ended up turning out.
What's the significance of incorporating those living plants into that?
Well, they're all fake plants. So
that's significant.
Because, with fake plants, I've got 2 cats, and so, real plants, not only do I have to keep them alive, which I'm not very good at, but I'd also have to worry about cats digging around in the dirt and, all that. Yes. You get fake plants, and they're always green. And I think the significance of that is having, I like to have a lot of fake plants around my place to give it more of an organic, to pull the room into more of an organic seeming direction. So, if I have a bunch of electronics and synthesizers and whatnot, that's kind of pushing everything into a kind of harsher, more digital, synthetic area. And even if the plants are fake, I still think that aesthetically it pulls things kind of back into a more natural seeming direction, which in a lot of the songs is kind of the 2 things I'm trying to balance, where if something gets a little too synth heavy, then maybe I'll put something in there that can help draw it back to a more organic sounding.
Yeah, that's, I think, very prominent and crucial existentially in the record.
Yes.
These two different kind of gravitational pulls. It makes me think of the lyric about gravity not working.
Yeah.
As well. But we feel the force of these two pulls, and the kind of psychedelic portal that these instruments and production kind of evoke, and then the liveliness that the fake plants connote.
Yes. Well, I mean, I think it's even just the first song is a very pretty, like, instrumentally, it's a very, like, black and white example of this, where there's, like, the synth drone that has tried to make sound as big as possible, and then there's the kind of like wonky piano sample in the back that is like the more organic element that kind of bridges that. And that piano sample ends up being kind of a motif of the record in general, where the same sample comes back in specific times, and even it closes out the record. So if you listen to the end track going into the first track, it kind of has a semi-seamless sound to it.
Yeah, on that first track, there seems to be a sense that these two different components, the liveliness and the kind of cold, distinct sounds, that these two can kind of come together for some kind of synthesis. We can kind of have the best of both of them.
Yeah.
I Won't Leave Here Again is a lyric in that song, so it seems like there's a sense that we have what we need. These different components can be integrated in this room, and there's a new frontier in my living room. So there's a kind of excitement.
Yeah.
That we have the lights. We're able to create the music.
Yeah.
This is a kind of magical place where creation can occur.
Yeah.
Would you say that that is an accurate characterization of the first song?
Yeah.
And to what extent does that faith in the Aqua Dungeon as somewhere where everything that we need can be kind of created, to what extent does that persist beyond the first song?
You know, I think it definitely like permeates the whole record. I think especially like I kind of view the first and second song as like intros to the record, so Keep Off the Lawn and Aqua Dungeon. And in the Keep Off the Lawn video, it's a very I think there's kind of this theme of like taking a space, in my case, a space that you live in, and trying to transform it in a way that will spark some sort of creativity, and even just going to very extreme levels to do that. Because I think, you know, if you're living in a space for a decent amount of time, it's very hard to see new things in the objects that are always around. Like sometimes I'll move my furniture around and things like that. So it's almost like sometimes I think of like where the Wild Things are, where he goes back to his bedroom and it, you know, slowly turns into like a forest. So I something like that, where it's trying to take things that you interact with on a daily basis and find new ways for them to inspire you.
Yeah, transform this space in a way that then is conducive to further transformation.
Yes, yes.
Both in the form of creating music and existentially, I'd have thought as well.
Oh yeah.
A favorite aspect of Keep Off the Lawn for me is the moment where we see the lava on the floor, but I'm into it.
Yeah.
So, and I think that relates to and allows us to go a bit deeper with what we're already talking about here. Well, there's a kind of noticing of the space having become like where the wild things are.
Yeah.
It's like there's lava on the floor, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a play on the, like, you know, when you're a kid and you're like in a hotel room and, you know, floor's lava, that type of thing, and you try to, you know, you bounce on all the furniture to not touch the floor, whatever.
Sure.
This is more kind of like a play on that, where it's like, yeah, I mean, it's all right.
But I'm into it.
I'm
It's
into
so
it, yeah.
simple, and finding this portal where, like a way into the flow of creativity.
Yeah.
The lava flow, kind of, which is the red light, presumably.
Yeah, and just kind of letting things happen and not trying to force anything. I think that's kind of the, yeah, that's something I feel like I struggle with a lot when it comes to creating music, not trying to force anything, and just kind of letting things take shape. But, you know, because I've gotten, in my opinion, great results doing both. But a lot of the times, when you just let things happen, then you can come up with some really interesting things you might never would have done.
To me, it's pertinent that there's this sense of danger. Like, something could be dangerous. Obviously, lava, as a kid, there's an excitement about the danger. Obviously,
Yeah.
it's imaginary. But also, I saw the devil in the ceiling fan. So as the space is transforming, there's something ominous. There's lava, and there's the devil's face in the ceiling fan.
I mean, a lot of those lines were very, like, stream of conscious.
Sure.
And, like, so I think it just has a lot to do with, like, just lying on the ground and, you know, just kind of being, I feel like as far as, like, devil in the ceiling fan goes, that's not, I guess, to be taken, like, super literally.
Sure.
Not there's, like, anything bad about the ceiling fan or any of that.
Yeah.
I think it's more so seeing these inanimate objects come alive and get more human characteristics.
But there is a sense that there is something scary or disorienting about this portal that we're going through. We're entering this different space. It's going to facilitate creativity, but there is something that, say, if we were of a different temperament, we might find scary.
Sure, yeah.
About it.
I think that's also kind of just me trying to be comfortable in uncomfortable, or what would normally be uncomfortable situations. I think, I mean, I've got a lot of anxiety. I'm a very anxious person, so in a lot of ways it's kind of like me trying to will this comfortability into existence by writing about it, essentially.
Yes.
So, you know, having all these things changing around you and being comfortable with it is kind of like, you know, what I'm, like, aspiring toward.
Yeah. There's this sense of flux, things being in flux, and finding something constant and kind of making oneself at home
Yeah.
in that vibe, kind of owning that.
Yes.
so it's kind of transforming flux and not resisting,
Right.
seeing this thing, working through the discomfort. Yeah. I find it really interesting that the ceiling fan is one of a number of features that becomes like a motif. So the ceiling fan is also in Waste, and by this point in Waste, the Aqua Dungeon itself seems to be fluctuating, changing.
Yeah.
The wooden floor is now a chair. The ceiling fan is all that moves. So what is happening here in terms of, if initially the Aqua Dungeon is set up as this space where transformation can occur, you get the vibe right, and then realize, I can kind of, engage in some alchemy here,
Sure, yeah.
create some music. But now the Aqua Dungeon itself is changing. The wooden floor is now a chair is like the most indicative line there.
Yeah.
And that it's not the only song or moment in a song where there's a sense of shifting. The red lights become blue. The lights have gone from red to blue in Euthanasia Department.
As far as like the floor being a chair, that's more so like me being comfortable just sitting on the floor, like treating it like a chair.
Yeah.
And I think, throughout the album, there are those lyrical motifs of these mundane objects that are, everyday objects in the household coming to life and taking on new features. And in Euthanasia Department, the lights turning from red to blue is more of red light is very much a warm and relaxing light, and blue light is kind of a very harsh and energetic type of light. So that more so has to do with the mood and the vibe of everything changing. It's kind of warm versus cool colors. Where if you ever look in the mirror when it's like just blue light, you're gonna look kind of sickly, and then red light always makes you look great. So. And red light is also, like, a lot of people will have red lights in their bathrooms because when you go and flip it on in the middle of the night, it's not going to wake you up, versus something like with more of a cool blue light spectrum is going to do that. So I think it's more of like relaxation versus like kind of like the blue light as like a more anxious type of frantic seeming.
Absolutely. So the red light is conducive to and indicative of well-being, health, and the blue light could interfere with.
Yes.
I feel sonically there's a shift as we go into Euthanasia Department, which is parallel to that. Going from red to blue. Would you agree? Could you talk a little bit about in terms of the production? Like what's happening there?
So with Euthanasia Department, that one I think, like, production-wise, might be my favorite one, just because there were a lot of things I had tried on that I kind of went out on a limb and they ended up working, and even the structure of the song as a whole.
What are some favorite aspects?
Well, there's this the main kind of sound that's heard. It's this kind of God, how to describe it? It's like a melodic sound, but it's based on a drum sample that I had like isolated certain harmonics and cranked them up enough so it's not really percussive anymore, but it's becoming really lets this certain note shine through, if that makes any sense. So it becomes like a harmonic part of the song itself, and I hadn't really done that to much success before, and done that, and I was like, okay, this is pretty cool, and so I made the first part, and I was hearing like kind of like a bridge with some piano in it, and so I went to my friend Renell from LPF, and I was just like, and so, you know, I'll often go to one of my friends and just be like, can I just record you playing over top of this? And Renell's one of those people that's just like, oh, send me the song, I'll write a part to it. And but I'm like, no, I just want to come over and just hit record and let you just loop it and let you do whatever comes to your mind. And
rather than writing a part,
yeah,
it's responsive to it.
Right, and so that's what I did, and for whatever reason, Renell has like no recollection of ever writing it, and she's sober, so you know, we joke that it was like her blackout part, but basically, yeah, I recorded her playing piano, and I also recorded all the MIDI notes, so I took that, and I had the MIDI performance that I pumped through like different synthesizers and things to get that. So I think they like just the structure of the song, where it's kind of like a verse, bridge, verse, and then it's done. I thought that was like pretty interesting. A lot of the times I just kind of gravitate toward like verse, chorus, bridge, chorus type of structures. So I feel like this song too especially had a very organic feel to it, as far as things shifting from one place to another. But yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. The two verses are quite different from one another, of course, as well. And the very interesting things happening with the multiple vocals in the second verse, where the sole lyric is, if you're in the Euthanasia Department, you might need maintenance.
Obviously, the title is a play on the word euthanasia.
And that's referenced at the end of the first verse, going off the deep end to euthanize these feelings.
Yeah, so if you know, I guess it was kind of more a message to myself that, you know, if you're trying to euthanize these feelings, maybe you need some maintenance. And you know, a lot of this record was written at a time where I was really, my anxiety was like really flaring up, and I was trying out several different medications, and just it was a very difficult year for me, and I was staying in a lot, wasn't quite going out so much, and just a lot of these things kind of I guess came through a lot in the lyrics, because you know, music ended up being like the only real like catharsis I had, so
Lifeblood.
yeah, so yeah, that's kind of the gist of that.
Yeah. How interesting to have created these songs and have them all be ready, and then, of course, with the global pandemic, a lot of people experience isolation in their rooms. Was that something that you were conscious of when you were, say, preparing for the record release, and people, you know, that was a wonderful night at Ice House, like a lot of people reconnecting for the first time, thanks to a record which is related to being isolated in one's room?
Yeah, it was very interesting, because I had all the songs. The record had been like mixed and mastered, completely done for a while, and like way before the pandemic, and And so I thought it was, also my dad kind of pointed out to me that, like, you know, these, a lot of these songs, a lot of these lyrics are probably what a lot of people are feeling right now. Don't you think you should, like, you know, put it out and blah, blah, blah. And,
Yes.
because I had originally was planning on releasing it in 2020, and then the pandemic hit and just kind of threw everything off. And I was like really reluctant to try and do anything or try and wade the waters when especially you don't know what's happening next week or the week after. So trying to plan anything, all of that was just kind of like, I was just like, no, I'm gonna wait. And I think ultimately that ended up being the right move. But yeah, I did think it was a very interesting thing that it was just merely coincidence that that happened to the lyrics happened to resonate or describe the feeling a lot of people were having at the time.
Again, I really love the record release show.
Yeah.
By which point you have Jessica on the drums, of course, as has always been the case. And then it was the first time with Matthew.
Yes.
Sandstead on the guitar.
Yeah.
Could you just say a little bit about the form that YYY took for the first time with that show?
Yeah, so we brought Matthew on in early 2020 to I think we had like one practice and then everything shut down, and we were kind of all just like, well, I guess we're taking a break or whatever. So that was fine, but it was. I always, you know, wanted to have like a third person or a guitarist, and Matthew's one of those people that I probably maybe the best person I have a creative relationship with.
You've collaborated.
Yes, we've collaborated so many times over the years, and we have a new, actually we have a new project that we have, I don't know, 20, 25 songs done.
Oh, wow.
And
that's more than 2 records worth.
Yeah, so we got an EP on the way that I'm really excited about. But that was just kind of like us making a lot of music during the pandemic and whatnot. So it just felt right having Matthew play guitar, because he also brings like a lot of really cool and interesting ideas to the table, and a lot of the lines, actually maybe most of the lines he plays in the live set were written by him for the live set specifically, because the album's got guitar on it, but it's not extremely guitar heavy. So there's a lot of stuff that Matthew just wrote on his own and brought to the table, and I think that's another thing that makes the live show different than the record, which I really like. Same thing with Jess on the drums.